Good afternoon. What I'd like to spend the next half an hour, along with my friends here from Europe, discussing is an initiative that we're kicking off. And our goal is basically to try and unite Europe's test beds and innovation approach. Over the next half an hour, as I say, want to just build a bit of scene setting and then finish up with where we're going. So maybe if we just go back 20 years, very briefly and sort of look where we were. The LMS was a baby, it was only about a year old, and YouTube had just been launched, And we can see loads of innovations there that were all step changes across that 20 years, and I know we could add loads more. But we did have that kind of perfect storm, yeah? So COVID in 2020, and then the emergence of ChatGPT in November 2022. And those two events really did, spawn another surge in the adaptation of Edtech, and actually, reinvigorated the promise and the hopes for Edtech. Indeed, if we look on 5 years, it's reflected in the figures we see here. PSI are predicting that our market in the global edtech sector will grow to 911 billion. And they do ascribe that growth to AI and also the rapid digitalization that is happening due to events like COVID. I should also mention that across this, we do use the word edtech in its broadest sense, talking about formal and corporate education. But it is an industry with really no guardrails. You can invent a product on your own using AI and launch it. And realistically, there's no guardrails there. And we can see here the quotes, and that scaling without evidence has resulted in the widespread distribution of really low quality products. Now, Council Europe actually say only 7% of edtech products can show rigorous evidence of their efficacy. And that's just efficacy, because there are other factors that should be taken into account too. This has led, as I'm sure a lot of people in the room will have felt, is overwhelming choice. We're left in a sea. I think there's over 500,000 now apps available that would call themselves edtech. So it leaves those who require these services with just overwhelming choices. And when they need to factor in things like compatibility, security, and cost, really does lead to decision fatigue and them saying it's not our job to have to be able to wade through this to find the good stuff, yeah? And this is a really interesting quote just out in the last few weeks from the Brussels Times. 66% of Swedish secondary teachers are saying in the future, they're going back to paper first, books, yeah? So that's the market voting with its feet. They've been burnt. Don't forget, Sweden was one of the leading lights in terms of edtech adoption. This is where it's going. Why? Because the products aren't necessarily up to muster. Just to talk about us for a while, of course, as well, there's always that sort of constant, we move too slow, trying to prove the efficacy and the rigor for an edtech market that needs to move fast to stay up with technology emerging and market demands. Now, myself and my friends here from Europe would all hope that if you're dealing with our institutions, you can see that we do try to fix that gap, by moving through applied research. But we're not saying there isn't more to be done in this space. The other side of this is that as Europe, we do all see ourselves as whatever our country might be first and European second. And indeed, that cultural diversity is something we cherish and we value a lot. But as we try to compete in a global market, or indeed across our own turf, this fragmentation causes us challenges, And in Europe, just to point out, 70% of our Edtech companies are micro organizations. So they need support to scale and spread their wings across Europe and further. But change is coming. And if you look at these 3 large organizations, very recent reports all saying, time out, we need this to change. We need guardrails, yeah? And of course, they've got the learner at heart. These are not people with axes to grind. They want us to improve the quality of EdTech. And we can see by these quotes that realistically, we can expect change imminently. Why don't we just put one of the frameworks in, Peter? Well, because there's 74 at least that the UK Department of Education identified that were worth considering and evaluating. There were many, many more, but there's 74. But there's something we can say at a base level. They realistically should provide evidence of efficacy, that these have been trialed in a lab environment. Effectiveness, they've been trialed in real-world environments. Equity, that they have benefits for all, including marginalized groups. Ethics, of course, when it comes to data security and other aspects, and of course, environmental concerns. What I've said so far leads us to here. So we have the big guys saying we want change, and down here, what have we got? We've got all the stakeholders who should benefit from this change. But there's a massive gap there between the demand for change and those who need to benefit from it. And indeed, Council of Europe say, we don't know who it is, all right? But it should be independently implemented, locally relevant, and internationally aligned. They're the criteria required to fill that gap. Let's pause that now, and I'll take you back to Belgium in March this year. I went to a conversation in Kortrijk in Belgium, basically on EdTech test bedding. And the 5 organizations you see represented on screen here had loads of chats, and probably more came out of the informal ones than the formal ones. But as we talked to each other, it was kind of one of those giddy situations like kids playing or whatever, because we suddenly realized that we're all committed to meaningful impact. We're innovation and industry-led. We're connected to our ecosystems, each and every one of us. We're not-for-profits. We support our individual nations, and we're independent in our views. With this realization and discussing topics like I've covered on the rest of these slides, we kind of came to the view that, do you know what? We're probably in a really good position to fill that gap I referred to earlier on. So we can provide unbiased expert inputs. We can actually make that ecosystem. We have the power and the scale to bring that ecosystem together and develop that common language as well between research and between industry and all stakeholders. We got quite giddy about that. And we've been talking ever since. What I would like to do is kind of give the floor over now and allow my colleagues and associates to give you some insight into their institutions. So, Heidi. Thanks, Emil.
Thank you, Peter. My warmest greetings from another small and spicy country, Finland. Okay, next I will tell you shortly about Helsinki Education Hub and what we are doing there. So my name is Heidi Lammassaari and I am the project manager for the hub. So we are a joint endeavor between the University of Helsinki Faculty of Educational Sciences and City of Helsinki. And we started not more than 1.5 years ago, so we are rather new in this scene. When we ended up to think about what could be our main mission, we ended up in a solution that our main mission at the Helsinki Education Hub is to build such a structure that enables creating and developing such solutions for learning purposes that truly work. So we ended up to apply a so-called triple helix model, but we at the Helsinki Education Hub, we do that at the municipality level. And that is possible because of Finland's decentralized system, so that we don't need a national framework for our work. But still, as a local pioneer, we are able to scale our framework for other municipalities too. So at the Helsinki Education Hub in Finland, we build on 3 core pillars. First of those is the academic research and infrastructure, and that's quite natural because we are physically located and administrated by the Faculty of Educational Sciences. In our faculty, our main mission is to generate and come up with new project ideas with our highly skilled researchers. We also take care of the competence development, what comes to entrepreneurship and innovation related themes, but also we want to involve in our activities our fantastic students, the teachers becoming teachers, for instance, providing them with so-called yearly co-creation challenge. By the way, in 25, our theme in that challenge is financial literacy, very topical topic indeed. Next, we wanted to bring in the startup incubation. So with 2 cohorts per year, we provide them with the support for product development with the Lean Launchpad product development program, but also we want to ensure that those teams who come maybe outside university or inside university, that they truly align their upcoming solutions with the latest findings on research in education and learning. Third, we wanted to bring in the testbed services. Actually, the testbed services, in our case, they are provided by the city of Helsinki. But from our incubator, we try to bring our teams to the testbed services of Helsinki, city of Helsinki, so that they can test their solutions in real-life learning environments in Helsinki schools with the pupils and teachers. Testbed services, they serve and provide both entrepreneurship-driven testing possibilities, but also City of Helsinki yearly gives kind of a City of Helsinki-driven testing services, so called innovation pilots. And that really provides our entrepreneurs and the early stage startup teams with important reference and validation. So, as a small market in Finland, we truly need to think about, although that we are innovative, we really need to collaborate with other European countries, and that's why we are here, and we are really looking forward to what we can do together. Thank you. And next, thank you. And next, I will hand over to my colleague from Netherlands, Kim, please.
Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you.
So I'll shortly introduce myself. My name is Kim Brandes. I'm one of the directors of the National Education Lab for AI, NOLAI, in the Netherlands, and we're embedded within the Radboud University. So NOLAI is a heavily funded government initiative. We came forward out of an innovation fund. We were founded in 2022. We're on Earth for 10 years. And our main mission is to develop and research responsible AI solutions for primary and secondary education. And we do so via a few programs. And today I'll tap into our test bedding program. Although we're located in the university, it's good to know that we're a broader consortium, and in this consortium there are school boards, there are other Dutch universities, and there are regional development agencies. And one of our main targets is that we have to develop 80 AI prototypes, responsible AI prototypes, within those 10 years, and that's our test bedding program. And we have 24 going on right now. And before I'll show you our approach to test bedding and how are we developing those prototypes, I want to tell you our approach to responsible AI. So at NoLi, we say you have the generative AI, which we tapped into this morning, and you have educational AI. And educational AI is the AI that our children in K-12 need to use in the classroom. So to develop it well and to develop in a responsible manner, it has to be pedagogically and didactically sound. Ethics have to be at the core of the design. The algorithm needs to be transparent. We have to know what it does. Can we use smaller models is also something we look into. We also look into the sustainability of the AI that we are developing. Can we reuse certain elements that we're doing? It has to be scientifically validated, and ideally, everything that we develop at NoLi is open source. So also the AI is open source, so that we can really create an ecosystem together in the Netherlands, but also in Europe, that we can learn from each other, use each other's AI developments, and then see if we can make the big win on a world platform. So how are we doing that? We use a triple helix approach, just like Heidi is doing in Finland. And a triple helix approach at NoLi means that we have schools, we have scientists, and we have companies in every development that we're doing, in every project. And it always starts with a school. So we go into the country, we go to schools, we do question articulation sessions, and ask teachers, what type of problem do you encounter in your daily practice that AI can be a possible solution for? If we have that right, we're going to see what do we already know about this problem, which scientists have knowledge that we can use to validate and create this prototype. And then we're going to look what can we already do, what type of technology is out there, and that's where the companies come in. And in NoLi, we predominantly work with startups to also create a healthier ecosystem. And when we have those three together, we have a project group, and in that project group, in the test bed, there will be a concept phase, a development phase, and a validation phase for the prototype. And for schools, it's nice to do this way of test bedding because they can actually work on a problem that they encounter in their daily practice, and they are co-developing, co-designing. For scientists, it's a good approach because they can test our more fundamental research and the theories in practice and see how it holds in practice. And for companies, it's interesting because they have access to a new piece of market. Startups get a piece of funding to actually develop AI in their Edtech solutions. And they are working on a scientifically validated prototype, and we hope that that will be a new standard in K-12 and will be a unique business proposition. So that's our test bedding and creation program. We're currently looking if we can keep the triangle together also in an implementation program to scale up prototypes and to also scale within Europe. And therefore, this initiative with this group is much needed. I'm going to hand over the floor to my Belgian colleague, Annelies. Thank you.
Also glad to be here. It's really nice to have our consortium, let's say, of 5 partners working on testbeds, working on that impact measurement of Edtech, because it's really crucial to do so. I'm Annelies Volckaert. I'm working in Belgium. We'll explain that Belgium is a bit a strange thing. We knew already. And there I'm a bit the Peter of Edtech Station. So I'm working on research and research programs together with companies. We are always starting from Edtech companies. We've been we've been founded in 2022 only to support those companies because we saw that in Belgium lots of Edtech companies left the country because they didn't find the support they needed, because they really wanted to grow but didn't find the opportunities in Belgium to do so. But in that way, we are also always building links towards users, schools, but also corporates. We are working both for education and for corporate training because that's really important. We are working together with universities and we are working together with governments. Governments, yes. In Belgium, we have 6 governments. We are specialized in that, I think. But if you look at the Edtech landscape in Belgium, 3/4 of it is hosted, let's say, in Flanders and in Brussels, so in the Dutch-speaking part, and in Brussels, our capital. Wallonia, we always say we still have a lot of opportunities over there. We've translated that idea of working with the 4 partners, the quadruple helix, so not the triple helix, but the quadruple helix, in a model where we really want to work together. We need the public authorities because regulation is starts over there. Not only the 6 Belgian governments, but also the European part. But we are also always working with the combination of research centers, Edtech companies and users, because we are really convinced that if you have an Edtech tool within 5 years and it's not research-based or research-informed, you will have a problem. You don't take a medicine without a research-based, you won't take an Edtech tool without that research base. So that's really important. We've translated that in our model for testbeds, and you see it's very similar with other models. But for us, next to the triangle, the idea of that Edtech companies and users are really working on that usage and that impact, where Edtech companies and research centers are really focusing on research, and that validation part also is crucial. Edtech Station launched in May 2022. We are working on an international base. Why? Belgium and even Flanders is a very small country. So if you want to do research, you need a market, and the Belgian market is really too small. Though in Belgium there are 408 Edtech companies, 408 in a small country like that. 150 of them are already a member of Edtech Station, and at this moment, in the 3 years we are working, we are now having over 40 research programs with 72 companies involved. So it's really growing. It's really a question of the market. And we've started test bedding also together with the government, because also our government, and certainly the Flemish government, is really convinced that it's important. We've been built, let's say, a few years ago on the model of the Swiss Edtech Collider. We are missing our colleague, he's over there. Roman couldn't make it because the founder of Swiss Edtech Collider stopped yesterday, and there was a big party, so he had to be there. That's the reason why he isn't here, but it's really important to have him. Peter, are you telling the story of Swiss Edtech Collider?
Yep. As you can tell, thank you, Annelies. As you can tell, Roman would have delivered these slides with a bit of crack. But unfortunately, he can't be here today. I'll just very briefly talk about Swiss Edtech Collider in his absence. Again, it kind of runs on 3 arms. And once again, we have this creating an Edtech ecosystem. They host events and they have a platform to bring all the players together. And by the stakeholders, again, they cover both corporate and formal education. They bring in public authority, and then they will also obviously bring in learners and students into that ecosystem. Their second arm is all about the research. I really like this one on the left. They run a master thesis initiative where they drop students into EdTech startups, and they do their masters within an EdTech institution or organization. They run Lighthouse initiatives and co-creation projects. The Lighthouse are 12-month validation projects for EdTech companies using research from the universities to try and, again, validate it. And then the third, again, is this idea of test beds as well. So they have a formal test bed program. They have over 70 EdTechs as part of their membership. And this is where they can test what they've already built or what they're intending to build. Just the numbers as they relate to the Swiss Edtech Collider. So 660 test beds, 270 plus schools involved. They've tested 17 EdTech innovation tools, and you can kind of see there nearly 10,000 students Roman said to make sure that if I'm talking about fragmentation, that I didn't forget to mention that it covers all of Switzerland, which means 26 education ministers, 4 languages. So he reckons any initiative that's going to break down fragmentation is really going to help him, because they're already dealing with all of that in Switzerland. Just to wrap up, I hope you can see here that we see our differences as strengths. We're all in the same space, but we have different views and angles on this. We're a focused group of experts, and we're keeping it tight to that group, yeah? We're already working on all of these challenges within our own countries. We're experts who can support Europe-wide infrastructure. We have the capability to do that. And we're welcoming future partners. We're already talking to Spain and Italy. Ultimately, we would hope that that gives us that much more consolidated view of Europe, which will help edtechs from all our different countries both spread, because we're speaking a common language in Belgium, Ireland, Finland, etc. That it will get this co-creation of research and industry working even better than we think it is now, and ultimately serving the needs of all stakeholders. So thanks very much for your time. We're up and at it at 10 in the morning, because, you know, why not avail of while everybody's here in the country. So we'll be moving on this initiative as early as tomorrow morning. Thanks for your time. Cheers.